Tirtha series.
Namaste. Welcome back to Moralok. We are going to step into the Janpad, which is the third ang of the Saptang state. Janpad is the land and the people of Moralok, the real lives of the people of Moralok. What shall we begin with? Today we will begin with food, clothing and shelter. Roti, kapda or makan. The three most important aspects of the lives of any people anywhere at any time. Let me start with food. So what did the Mauryans eat? Was there some philosophy of food? We have in India the ancient science of Ayurveda, and this science of Ayurveda informed the food that people ate. According to the Upanishads, we are what we eat, and our ancient doctors, physicians, Sushrut and Charak wrote treatises and were very knowledgeable about the medicinal aspect of food. So now it's clear that food had a nutrition aspect, a medicinal aspect and also a spiritual and religious aspect. So how do we know, from where do we gather the evidence of what they ate? The Arthashastra, of course, that is one of our basic sources. Other than that, we also have references in other texts. We have certain remains of the kind of food that was eaten there in terms of archaeological remains. So when in the section on agriculture, Chanakya talks of when to sow what kind of crop, then we get an idea of what people used to eat. So they ate grains, they ate fruits, they ate vegetables, they cooked their grains and they added seasoning to it. They processed their food, and as you will see, the grains that they ate, the fruits and vegetables that they ate and the way they processed it are not all that dissimilar to what we do today. So what grains did they eat? Of course rice, of course wheat, and then there were many kinds of pulses. Then they ate millets, ragi, they ate barley. So the grains that they ate, how were they eaten? They were eaten by powdering them, by mixing the powder with some kind of liquid. These powders were also made into the kind of things that we eat today, that is rotis, and the rotis were roasted on open fires. Barley, for instance, was one of the most important foods of the time. It was powdered and it was mixed with water, sometimes mixed with milk and sometimes even mixed with som juice, and this was the life-giving yava. So this yava was one of the most important things, most central things that were part of the diet of the Mauryans. So this is as far as grains are concerned. What were the vegetables? For instance, you have all the different kind of gourds. Then you have cucumber. You have green leafy vegetables such as methi, such as spinach. Then you also had a very important thing called saijan, which again we still eat. So we have a whole assortment of vegetables today which have originated outside India. Such vegetables were also there in modern times, but perhaps a little less. Now we can go on to fruits. What kind of fruits were there? So of course the king of all fruits, that is mango, banana, coconut, jackfruit, jamun, bale, bear. I'm sure you can recognize all these fruits. I was talking about processing of the food and cooking of the food. How were these seasoned? Ginger, citrus, long pepper. In actual fact, almost all the things which belong to the Indian kitchen today belonged to the Mauryan kitchen then. So you have everything which we now call as garam masala. Onions and garlic were also eaten, although not when the food was for religious or spiritual purposes. Next, we have to come to something very important, that is milk and milk products. Remember the importance of the cow and milk in ancient India. So all kinds of milk and milk products were very, very important. You also had things like proto paneer, you had things like proto shrikhand. All these things were appreciated, eaten and eaten across the board by people in modern times. You also had curd. Curds were so important that there were special curd selling shops in modern India called methikas. And now to something which was at the top of the food pyramid, ghee, which is made from milk. So ghee was a very, very healthy option, and it was also important for religious and spiritual purposes. It was used for yagyas, it was used for religious ceremonies, but it was also seen as a very healthy ingredient of one's diet. We have not talked about meat. So did they consume meat? Yes, indeed they did. There was a list of animals which were to be consumed and those animals which were not to be consumed. Poultry was definitely consumed, deer was consumed. Apart from the poultry etc. which was kept by people as part of animal husbandry, the meat that was consumed was mostly the result of hunting, and hunting was an important activity of that time. So this meat was roasted with spices. It was also mixed with rice. So you have a kind of proto biryani and a kind of proto kebab at the time. And interestingly, there used to be special meat shops in the marketplace, and there also used to be special vegetarian shops, and these vegetarian shops were also divided into the rice eating shops and the wheat eating shops. So there was a very nice organization of all the different kinds of things that people wanted to eat. Now we come to what did they drink? Were they fond of alcoholic beverages? Yes, indeed they were. There is a mention of a number of alcoholic beverages in the Arthashastra. Some of them were made in India, but they also imported wonderful wine from Afghanistan. It was called Harahurak. It is interesting to see that there are some very complicated recipes for making alcoholic beverages in the Arthashastra. And for 2 or 3 times a year, people were allowed to make liquor in their own houses and consume. Otherwise, alcohol, as always, was also a state, making of alcohol was a state regulated activity. Now here, look at this. This is a Mauryan kitchen. It may not be the same as the kind of kitchen I have today, but like I said, the kind of things being made in this are not all that different from the kind of things that were made by the Mauryans, or rather the kind of things that are being made by us. Now there is something which can be done here, which is making of rotis. Let me tell you of the things that were made then which have references today. For instance, I am from Bihar. I eat something which is called a pua, which is wheat flour mixed with gur. The same thing was made during modern times, and of course the Mauryans had their capital in Bihar. I call it a pua, they called it a pupa. Then I told you that a number of grains were powdered and mixed with some liquid, and this was called supa. And you know that supa is the word from which the modern soup is derived. We eat papads, they used to eat purpatakas. The list goes on and on. The point being made here is that this was a prosperous and well-fed community with a very complex and nutritious system of eating, a nutritious system of cooking, which had a kind of philosophy behind it, which had certain processes behind it. And it will interest you to know that many of the processes which were used at the time, say something like sprouting, parching, so many of these processes are recognized today as adding extra nutritious value to the food that we consume. As I emphasize in each and every episode, there are commonalities which are too strong to be missed. So much for food. And now on to clothes. From food to clothes. So what kind of clothes did people wear? The same things that we are again familiar with. So they wore cotton and perhaps some things which we are not that familiar with, as in bark. we no longer wear bark fiber, but of course we still wear silk. And then there was hemp. There were different kinds of silk. Cotton fiber has always been, it is native to India, it has always been there, and cotton fiber spun into yarn and woven into cloth has been worn for millennia. The same was true of modern times. And cotton was normally worn by people who were poor or people who were of medium prosperity. But there were some excellent kinds of cotton. One came from central India and was called Tulapansi. Another came from Madurai. These were very, very high quality cotton weaves which were luxury items and which were worn by very rich people. Now what about silk? The Chinese would have you believe that silk originated from China and then spread across the world. That does not seem to be very true if we look at the evidence from the Indian subcontinent, because there is silk, there have been some silk remains found at Channudaro in the Saraswati Sindhu civilization. There was Chinese silk, of course, but this was called Chinam Sook. But there was some wild silk, pre-Chinese wild silk. Other than this, what else was there? So you had Tassar, you also had Muga, you had silk which was, the kind which is called Pattu in Tamil Nadu and Pat in Assam. That kind of silk was also there. Then you had Jalipattika. So there were a number of different kinds of silk, and these silks were worn, of course, by rich people. How were these cottons and silks made? So cotton is woven from yarn, silk is woven from yarn, but for bark fiber it is a little different. So bark fiber was beaten into very, very thin strips, and this bark fiber was mostly worn by poor people, but some of it was very fine, which was called dukul, and this was worn again by the people who were slightly better off. What was the system of weaving under Chandragupta Maurya? This is a very significant fact, because the spinning of yarn and the weaving of cotton was done mostly by women. This was a woman-centric, and at that time of course everything was done within the home. So this was woman-centric and it was done by women in their homes. There were also sometimes some warehouses. An interesting thing which I will mention here is that silk, gold and silver wires were woven together to form a kind of precious cloth. So this is as far as the pieces of cloth are concerned. But were they made in different colors or were they of one color? Of course not. So they were dyed, they were also printed. So resist dyeing and printing have been mentioned by Megasthenes, a Greek visitor to the court of Chandragupta. And beautiful motifs were also printed on these pieces of cloth. That brings us to the end of this episode. See you next time. Namaskar.
We are left holding pieces of cloth in our hands, beautifully woven and dyed. What next? Find out in episode 5. Also find out about Mauryan dwellings, and was there any unifying idea behind daily life? The quotidian realities of food, clothing and shelter. Don't forget to watch next Saturday.